From hardcore porn stars, 30 escorts and 10 superstars. They're both too many. One of the better porn star names.
Yeah, that's creative.
You know what you're going to get as well. You know what I mean? To a Serie A striker, torpedoed by Kim Jong Un, and just accidentally shoots one of the women in the hand.
I bet every time she waves at someone, she can still hear the whistling.
Meet the wonder kids who weren't. Welcome back to The Upshot. I'm Jack. Zach is here.
Hi, Jack.
Hello. Former wonder kid.
I had a brief spell as a wonder kid.
Yeah. Are we talking football here or just...
Football, yeah. I don't know if I ever told you this story before, but I used to play on like a Saturday football training thing, and one time some Crystal Palace scouts came down and everyone knew that they were there, so they were like playing out their skin, and at the end the Crystal Palace scouts came up to me and were like, yeah, we were really impressed with you, we'd like you to sign for, or like come along for a trial at the Crystal Palace girls team. And because I had at the time I had like long blonde hair. I looked quite girly. I was probably about 10 or 11, and they were like, yeah, come along for a trial at the girls team, and I was like, I'm a boy. And then they were sort of, yeah,
You're all right, mate.
yeah, they were sort of like, yeah, all a bit awkward, and I was like, yeah, but I'll come along for a trial at the boys team, and they were like, yeah, probably don't bother actually.
That's incredible.
So yeah.
Did you get mistaken for a girl a lot at that age? So you told another story.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at pictures of me, age sort of 10, 11,
I guess at that point.
quite feminine.
Yeah.
Quite
not the rugged masculine macho
Exactly,
man we
yeah.
see today.
not the absolute unit.
Have you gone back to the Crystal Palace Academy with your haircut now? Just
doing kick-ups outside, waiting.
That was the closest I came to
That's pretty
footballing
close.
stardom. Climbing the staircase.
to women's football stardom.
Yeah.
George Wilde, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Star of Dennis Wise. We did another one together.
Andy van der Meijden.
Andy van der Meijden.
Yeah, no, I was getting sick of talking about, players that had a handful of caps. I want to talk about players that had no caps.
Yeah, 0 caps, people you've never heard of. We've got a few big names in here, I think. We're sort of, Adriano I mentioned, we'll come on to him. He obviously had quite a good career for a bit, but he qualifies. But I think wonder kid, when we talk about that, what do we mean? There's quite a specific profile. Like, when did this thing start? It's like a noughties thing. Championship manager thing.
Yeah, I think it was Freddie Adu. Are we saying he was the first?
So Freddie Adu was like, what, he was like...
He was like noughties.
He was 13, and he was like in a Nike advert, and he signed for like DC United in the MLS. And everyone was like, he's going to be a star. That was noughties, I think.
That was noughties. As you know, I like to do my research for these pods, and I was looking at the usage of the word wonder kid through the years, and it peaked. Well, not peaked. It had a huge spike in the 1960s. Up to then, it was not a word in the English language, but in the 60s it peaked, late 50s even. And I was thinking around that time, Pele was he was a wonder kid, and the 1958 World Cup, he was 17 and he scored a hat-trick in the semi-final, scored 2 in the final. So is Pele the original wonder kid? Is a question I want to throw out.
Yeah, when you put it like that.
A bloke who most people have never heard of.
I was thinking, wonder kid that wasn't.
Yeah, Freddie Adu's the original wonder kid that wasn't, for sure.
Yeah.
So it was wunderkind, right?
It's a German word.
When does that start?
Well, records begin in the 1800s of Google word tracking.
Right. So what, a wunderkind's getting like...
Wunderkind was about in the 1800s, but also in German it had a spike in the 60s.
Are they getting
50s,
like eaten
70s.
in a cauldron by a witch in a gingerbread house or something? It's got a bit of that, like... I think the wonder kid thing is a little bit noncy, because it's a little bit like, not the word, but like this sort of like obsession with like young blood. Like, even I think the Sun have like a series called like Rising Stars.
Don't think you should call it a bit noncy and then, right, here's welcome to an hour.
And that's why I theme my podcast around. Well, we like a noncy. We like a bit noncy. A little bit.
I'd like to take this opportunity to distance myself from
this noncy pod.
From regular hosts, Jack and Zach.
No, but like, obviously it's not fully noncy, but it's a bit sort of vampire-ish, coveted. Brian Johnson, the guy who wants to live forever, who I love to talk about, and he like gets transfusions of his son's blood.
Sure. You think people live it? Yeah.
There's an element of like, oh, young blood, we covet it. Do you think?
Do you think like Cristiano Ronaldo is having blood transfusions from Freddie Adu?
I think he's having them from his own kids, definitely, which is why he's got a lot of the Brian Johnson about him, actually.
He
Ronaldo,
does,
hasn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of artificial.
Also a little bit Nazi, I think, in the sense that everything
Just
is.
because it comes from a German word, Jack, doesn't mean
Look, I belong to a generation of men where something is either Nazi or Nazi. And I actually think this might be both. The reason I think it's a bit Nazi is, again, it's that, like, we are, like, the like, quality of the young stock, like the Hitler Youth. They're all about, like, the quality of the youth and, like, admiring the sort of, like, athletic prowess of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a take.
Do you guys not agree there's some themes there?
No, I see where you're coming from. It is like an obsession with like this is the one that will lead us to greatness.
The racial stock.
Our club will.
Eugenicsy.
Yeah, a bit.
Although actually,
I see where you're coming from.
The countries where we find the Wonder Kids, as we'll see, are not really that vibe. They're actually a lot more sort of like freewheeling and fun. Because it's.
I think I think to be classed as a real Wonder Kid, you need to be dubbed the next someone, the next Messi, the next Pele, the next Iniesta.
Who were the Crystal Palace scouts dubbing? The next Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah, the next Chloe Kelly.
Yeah.
It's quite, actually,
It used to happen to me,
quite
Zach, there's no shame. I was at Heathrow like 2 years ago with my wife, both got long hair, obviously, and the waitress came over and goes, "So what can I get you ladies?" And then she was so embarrassed when she saw the horrid beard. Do you think South America is really like Wonder Kid capital?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the archetype of a Wonder Kid is Brazilian. And they preferably have a name, something like Zazinho or Edgar, or because there's like two categories with Brazilian names. They're either you've got your Ronaldinho or Dodo.
Yeah, you've got your old English Gerald Edgar, or you've got your like really exotic samba style. You want to be in that category. Although if you think about it, Ronaldinho is just called Ronald, which is the English name again.
Yeah.
To clarify, we are talking about failed Wonder Kids, right? Failed's harsh, but we're talking about people who are tipped to be the next. What we'll see, Ronaldo, Messi, whatever, some slightly more unusual ones too, and then basically crashed and burned and had quite wild lives, right? That's the
they never really climbed the golden staircase.
Do you think it's a curse? The curse of the Wonder Kid? Like, maybe we'll answer that at the end, but do you think being dubbed the next Pele?
Yeah, I see that.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it definitely puts like an unrealistic expectation on young players to like not be. It kind of means they can't like forge their own path. You're constantly being compared to someone else. But then at the same time, I guess like Messi was probably called the next Maradona, right?
Yeah, and he did all right.
He did.
Zach, you were never quite the same player again after the Selhurst Scouts.
After the disappointment of that, it's difficult.
Having been
to
dubbed the next Chloe Kelly.
Yeah, my football career now is confined to five-a-side.
You're more of an Alicia Lehman figure these days, the media career. If people are familiar with Alicia Lehman.
just do like kick-up videos in tight shorts.
Yeah, that's quite Wonder Kid. Told you it was Nancy. Right, do you want to kick us off? Where are we going first?
So we're going, of course, to Brazil, which, like I said, that is the archetype of a Wonder Kid. Preferably they've been plucked from the favelas after being spotted playing street football by Roberto Carlos or someone like that. And everything that you've heard about them is based on these grainy YouTube videos where they're doing ridiculous skills. Maybe you've seen some like scarcely believable stats from the Flamengo youth team. And I've got someone for you who fits that bill almost exactly, and that is Kerlon. So Kerlon came to you.
You would have heard of some of these people.
You know Kerlon.
So he's got the latter, he's got the Edgar.
He's gone for the
He could have so easily been Carlinho.
But to be Carlinho, does there not need to be a Kerlon? Because your Carlinho is little Kerlon.
Yeah, but I think it's just used as like a term of endearment. I don't think it's like junior.
Yeah, because like Ronaldinho, his name was Ronaldo. but I think his dad was, or his name's Ronald, and I think his dad was called Ronald.
Yeah, I think you can have it without. I think it's just like little. It's just like a term.
Little, yeah, okay, all right. Well, Kerloninho, if you wanna call him. Now, he goes by Kerlon, and he came through the Cruzeiro Academy, broke into the first team in 2005, where he became best known for his trademark skill, the seal. So the seal basically worked that he'd flick the ball up onto his head, and then would run, bouncing the ball on his head without letting it touch the floor. So it means that the ball is like at head height. Nobody can get it off him. And clips of him doing this started going viral in real early days of YouTube. There's one from 2005 that we watched that has 3.7 million views.
It's good.
He's like a seal.
Yeah, he's
Bouncing. Oh, he just got clattered.
Is he dubbed the next flipper?
Yeah.
so got another clip.
Ooh, it's actually
This
a
one is
lot
a
of the
different
challenge
one.
is just being able to flick it up.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like the darting run.
Yeah.
And then he just gets knocked out. It's basically dribbling.
It's dribbling, but yeah, he's running while bouncing the ball on his head. It's pretty impressive.
But as soon as he meets a big centre half, it does seem to get.
So
But you
that
win a
was
free
that
kick,
was the
though,
problem.
right?
It pissed people off a lot. So he gets dubbed the next Ronaldinho,
Right.
and he also gets the nickname Ofoquinha, which means the little seal. And Cruzeiro, they see these clips going viral on YouTube and they cash in. They start selling seal toys in the club shop with a Kerlon shirt on. Unsurprisingly, though, it does really start to piss off his opponents. He does it in the final minute of a derby against their hated rivals Atletico Mineiro, and Cruzeiro leading 4-3, and he just flicks it up, starts doing the seal. And this defender barges him into another dimension.
Aí o Kerlon, será que vem o drible da Foquinha? Caiu o Kerlon, dando show, falta! Falta, e os jogadores do Atlético...
He basically punches him.
He shoulder barges him in the head. You could probably see his neck bend back.
Yeah, he had it coming. Although I don't actually understand. One guy then leans over and shouts at him. It's like he's not breaking the fucking rules.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a moral panic in Brazil. So all of his rivals were all saying it's disrespectful to your fellow pros. One of them said, he wouldn't get past me. I would use capoeira moves if I had to.
Is that
the Brazilian martial art?
It's like dancing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit Brent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, good move. Does it work against karate?
What, against capoeira?
Yeah. He said, I would take the ball, his head, and everything else.
I thought Brazil would be up for this. They're like the land of.
I think it's one of those that if he's on your team, you love it.
He's our cunt.
Yeah, exactly. It wears thin quite quickly
Is he
for
actually
opponents.
having any success? Is he a wonder kid?
Yeah, so I mean, the hype around him is real. So he ends up getting signed up by Mino Raiola, the super agent, and he gets him a deal with Inter Milan. So he goes over there. He's in the same Inter Milan team as Balotelli, fellow wonder kid. Kerlon said that Balotelli would piss in his teammates' boots.
Lovely.
Never really works out for Kerlon at Inter. Plays 0 games for them, 0 games for Ajax, where he goes on loan as well. And then after that, he goes back to Brazil, does a stint in Japan where he plays a bit.
And then that's just like exhibition work, really.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pro contract, but it's only really for a season or two. He has a lot of bad injuries, which hamper his development a lot, possibly from riled up defenders booting him in the stomach. And yeah, he ends up retiring at 29, and he's now the director of a soccer school in Connecticut.
Oh, right, where they're just strictly doing
Animal skills.
Yeah, animal skills. So basically, he got worked out.
He does the penguin as well. You know the way penguins carry the eggs and just puts it up his shorts and just waddles towards the goal.
Yeah, he's a skills guy. He really needs an Insta or a YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, he should just be one of those. Yeah.
Freestyler.
That's what it's called. Yeah. Which you always see clips of these freestylers, and it's why are you not a footballer? You're so good. And then you probably see them actually try and run the length of a pitch. And
yeah, was it somewhat? We were talking about this off air recently, that a lot of them just have no tactical awareness because they're just amazing at skills and nothing else. Yeah. So basically, he got found out. How did
yeah.
Inter Milan not see that coming, or were they just like, let's just sell some seal toys?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it worked
SeaWorld
out.
sponsorship is worth it. How old is he now, Kerlon?
He's now 37.
Do you think in a Sunday League game that would be a powerful
I'd
weapon?
say if it pisses people off.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't do anything in the Sunday League, would it? Beach football. He should have been a futsal guy.
Yeah. It's quite impressive, and when you see him going on these, I mean, I say that in all of the clips I've seen, I don't think I've seen him successfully complete a dribble. He just gets taken out.
Yeah, it's a good trick.
Yeah, but it's quite, it's the Jack Grealish thing, isn't it? It's like you get taken out, you win a free kick.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Nazi or Nazi? Neither, really.
No.
If I had to say, I'd say Nazi because it's like a new weapon, which like is what the Nazis were
Are we
about.
going to be doing that for every? Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right, I got another Brazilian for you. Slightly more successful this time. Kleberson. Do you remember him? So he starred at the 2002 World Cup for Brazil when they won. Felipe Scolari, the manager, said he was the driving force behind their win. So after that summer, there was loads of hype around him. All of Europe's big clubs were sniffing around. Barcelona, Man United came in for him. But Kleberson opted to stay in Brazil for another year because he wanted to marry his 15-year-old fiancée when she reached the age of consent.
How old was he?
He was, at that point, he was 23.
That's pretty
So
weird.
he'd met her a year earlier when she was 14.
Right, so this is a Nazi one.
This is a Nazi one. Yeah.
You think I'm a wonder kid?
Takes one to know one.
So he was dubbed the next Woody Allen, was he?
Yeah. And she was dubbed the next Kleberson.
There's a picture of her here. She
I
does
mean,
look...
there.
No, don't.
He's got... I think,
He's got braces.
yeah, I think he looks younger because he's got braces on.
He's
She
wearing a
looks-
disguise.
She's still got sort of baby cheeks
Do you think he did get the braces as a...
to make it...
It makes
so that-
the age gap look
Yeah,
narrower.
I mean, it allowed him to fit in when he was waiting at the school gate.
Yeah. It's a disguise.
They are actually still together.
Okay.
So, you know,
So yeah, 8 years.
age is just a number.
Yeah, 8 years sounds bad.
No, it is bad. I don't think we should just... No,
actually-
what he's done there is he's groomed her.
Yeah,
And
15
there's-
sounds bad. 8 years, not so much. You meet couples with a bigger age gap than 8
Yeah.
years, but
It was weird. So Kleberson tied the knot with his barely legal fiancée. And the following summer, he did join Man United.
Yeah.
Apparently, he agreed the deal because Ronaldinho told him that he was joining as well. That turned out to be a joke.
But he
And Ronaldinho signed for
Gotcha.
signed for Barcelona.
enjoy the
instead.
fucking rain, mate. I'm going to Barca.
Yeah, anyway, there was a lot of hype around Kleberson when he signed, but only played 20 games for United in the end. Did a spell in Turkey with Besiktas, and then back to Brazil for a fairly mediocre career, really.
That's a very wonder kid that wasn't trajectory, isn't it?
Back to Brazil.
Yeah, via Turkey.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Brazilian Football League is great. It's like very passionate,
Sure.
but
But you're not a wonder kid if you're still playing there. Is that harsh?
I mean, Pele spent his whole career.
Yeah,
It's different era. But
That was in them days.
yeah. While we're on the subject of Brazilians, one for you who's not quite Brazilian, but almost. John Flanagan, who actually, thinking about it, maybe that could be a Brazilian wonder kid name in the Edgar category.
What, just Flanagan? I bet you there is. Whenever you search like random
Yeah.
Brazilian teams and just look at the players' names, they're just names. They're just like English surnames as first names.
Yeah, or German ones, the descendants of
Yeah.
Nazi war
They're the
criminals.
Nazi wonder kids.
But anyway, John Flanagan, he burst onto the scene around 2009, 2010. He sort of did. There was a lot of hype around him about 2010. Liverpool fans dub him the next Cafu. And it goes so far that Cafu himself, the Brazil legend, flies over to Liverpool and goes to watch John Flanagan play at Anfield. And he's so impressed by Flanagan's performance that he anoints him as his natural successor.
Wow.
And he tips him to win as many trophies as I did.
Cafu won the World Cup.
Cafu won the World Cup. Yeah, Cafu won pretty much everything there is to win.
It's high praise.
Yeah, it's the curse, really. It's quite
Yeah.
rare that they actually get anointed by the
Yeah.
person they're meant to be the next.
Yeah, he said he saw a lot of similarities in their game. He really, like, they did a whole interview with LFC TV.
He's a Liverpool fan.
Singing his
is he?
praise. Cafu.
I feel like I've read that.
Oh, yeah?
That might explain his
Yeah.
His
Otherwise,
desperation.
overexcitement. Was it one
It was
game?
either- yeah, he was just desperately looking for a success. It was either him or Jose Enrique.
Maicon.
Who else was? Who are the Liverpool right backs? John Arnorisa.
Glenn Johnson. Nathaniel Klein. This is basically all the England right backs as well, wasn't it?
It was a poor era. It doesn't quite work out that way for John Flanagan. It'd be sad to hear. Well, he retired at 29 after a spell at Danish side HB Kool. You kind of know your career hasn't reached the heights it was destined for when being named in Garth Crooks' Team of the Week in 2010 makes it onto your Wikipedia page.
Oh, really? What, under honours?
Not under honours, but it's in the...
I'll never sing that.
Yeah.
So far, who's the best wonder kid in terms of actual success? Kleberson. He won the World Cup.
Kleberson won the World Cup.
Yeah. Right, well, none of them quite match the height of this fella, who... He actually hit some pretty serious heights, but then things changed, which is why he's on that list. I am, of course, speaking of the next Ronaldo, Adriano. When I say Ronaldo, I mean R9, because Adriano he came right after R9, Ronaldo, and he sort of had it all. He played up front, he was fast, he was powerful, he kicked it so hard. So he actually, on Pro Evo, had 99 shot power, which a lot of people remember him for. Although he won more accolades than that. At 18, he was called up by Brazil to play up front. He was playing for Flamengo, and already at that age, everyone was like, this guy's going to be a star. They nicknamed him the Emperor, ou Imperator. And to be fair, he really delivered for a time. So by 2004, he had top scored in the Copa America, which Brazil won. He'd won Serie A with Inter Milan. He'd been like one of the stars of that season as well in Italy. And, everyone was thinking this guy is going to go all the way and be an all-time great. And actually what happened next is very sad. His dad died and he took it really, really badly and basically went off the rails. And his career never really recovered, but he did get himself into some quite funny scrapes. So he was boozing hard. He said, I drank everything I get my hands on. Wine, whiskey, vodka, beer, lots of beer. And he basically started to lose his form, piled on the pounds. He got really, really big. And also just got in all these scraps. He was like headbutting opponents. He got in fights with paparazzi. And after a few seasons, Inter Milan cut him loose, send him back to Brazil, where he just has these series of clubs where it's going okay, and then he falls out with them. And by 2010, he's sort of this like washed up, sort of John Flanagan figure, when he persuades the legendary Brazil manager Dunga to give him...
Some fair, because John Flanagan was famously at his peak in 2010.
True. He was the
according to Garth Crooks.
Yeah, he was in Team of the Week. Anyway, he persuades Dunga, the Brazil manager, to give him one more chance. And Dunga's like, look, if you stay out of trouble, I will take you to the 2010 World Cup and you've got a shot of redemption. Everyone's like, right, it's finally going to happen with Adriano on the biggest stage. And then a few weeks later, a photo appears of Adriano posing with a gold AK-47 and some gangsters.
Wow.
So actually, Adriano's holding the non-gold one and the gangster next to him's holding a gold one.
Just a humble AK-47.
Yeah, quite the pick. Is that just, did you just spray an AK gold? We're looking at it, we'll link to it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a real big baller gangster, then it could be gold-plated or solid gold would be too heavy.
I feel like that guy in...
You suggested it's just gold plastic, like those sort of toy cats you get in Chinatown.
Sprayed and really shit plastic.
It must be some sort of gold leaf.
I think in Lord of War, have you seen that film? Which is loosely based on a true story. One of the warlord's sons has a gold AK. But Liberia, that's where they are. But I was just Googling it, and there are men in Dubai who will do you like you can't use it to shoot, but like a gold replica, if you're interested.
That's very Dubai.
Yeah, it's very Dubai. Would be quite a cool thing to own, I think.
But just like a fake gun, basically.
Yeah, I think getting it to fire stuff. But that one looks like it shoots.
Yeah. I hope so.
I'm like a real expert there.
Is there any context around?
Adriano is still mates with a lot of like favela drug lords. So actually around the same time, police arrest this quite big drug kingpin who's driving around on a motorbike with a lot of cash on him. And it turns out the motorbike belongs to Adriano and he just lent it to him. So like he's mates with these fellas. And after that, his football career is really sort of over. He's not going to play for Brazil again. And the drama keeps coming. So that Christmas, on Christmas Day, he heads out to a nightclub, which apparently is the vibe. That's
I can see that being quite normal in Brazil.
Yeah, I think do they celebrate it on a different day, maybe? Anyway, he's in a nightclub on Christmas Day, and he's having a whale of a time. takes these 4 women back with him, and they all get into his in his car. And on the way back, it's the 4 women, Adriano and his bodyguard, and he's like, "Great, we're going to go back for an orgy. It's going to be great." And to impress the women and try and like seal the deal, he's like, "Right, guys, watch this." Takes his bodyguard's gun off him and is like playing with it and just accidentally shoots it, sets it off, and shoots one of the women in the hand.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's end of the orgy. Do you think he's like, "Look, one of you go to the hospital with her, you 2 come back with me, we'll wait." There's no point us all going, we're just going to be sitting there.
Shot her in the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, isn't it?
All right. So, is there any? Does she like press charges or anything?
I think he pays her off.
Right.
Yeah.
okay.
And she then sort of like changes the story and it's like, "Oh no, it's not really clear what happened, but yeah."
Yeah. But every time she waves at someone, she can still hear the whistling.
Now they call her the dolphin. Yeah, I presume they lost touch after that. Do you think she's like, that's like a cool like war story to tell people?
Yeah, she'd probably prefer her fingers. I
Prefer to
imagine.
be able to get dressed without any help. Anyway, as for Adriano, he's now at this point just like looking for any professional contract he can get. And his prayers are answered when French side Le Havre come in for him. At the last minute, Le Havre pull the plug. They decide, don't want anything to do with this guy. And he's pretty gutted about this and decides to cheer himself up with the mother of all orgies. So he books like a swanky suite in a top hotel in Rio, ships in 18 prostitutes, and has a 20 grand orgy.
Do you have enough bullets?
It's like, and wait till you see my party trick.
Is he must still be loaded then from his football career.
I think he.
He's locked and loaded.
Yeah. I actually don't think he hasn't gone the sort of bankruptcy route, to my knowledge, which is nice.
That's good.
Made some good investments. Such as his
including 20 grand on it.
Yeah, just him and 18 women. That sounds stressful.
Yeah, that's too many.
Yeah, that's like what are they queuing?
Yeah,
At a certain size, it becomes about logistics. Like you got to feed everyone. It's like running a small army.
Yeah.
Anyway, he does like the hotel so much, he decides to stay. And actually, instead of shipping in escorts every night, he comes up with a slightly more like sensible suggestion. He installs 2 girlfriends in rooms adjacent to his without telling them. So basically, he's in the middle room, and then either side of him, he's got a couple of girlfriends, and they have no idea the other one exists. Which again, not worth the effort, in my opinion. Just get one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he is rumbled when the tabloids find out. They splash it all over the papers, and the 2 girlfriends see.
It's quite a Brazilian footballer thing. Ronaldinho moved 2 different women into his mansion, I think. And
I think it was a hotel for a bit, was it? Or maybe it was.
I think it was his home.
But were they oblivious?
Well, they lived in the same house.
Right.
Very quickly, they probably cottoned on.
Very
but that was, I think it was after he got out of prison for the fake passport, for trying to get into Paraguay with a fake passport.
Didn't it emerge then there was a 3rd girlfriend as well?
Yeah, I think he then tried to move a 3rd one in and it didn't go that well.
Yeah. It's something quite like Faulty Towers about the whole thing. Like he's going room to room trying to like impress them all. Yeah, Adriano was rumbled. And yeah, he's with a new woman now, is my understanding.
Is he doing all right now?
Yeah, I think he seems like it. He does a bit of punditry.
Okay.
He seems okay.
So I guess in the mid to late noughties, you weren't really a wonder kid unless you were the next Messi or the next Ronaldo at that point, right? And 2 great examples were the Santos brothers from Mexico. So Giovani and Jonathan, do you remember them?
Tottenham, one of them.
Yeah, Giovani ended up, so they got their big break at sort of the ages of 12 and 13. They got signed up by Barcelona's academy.
Right.
And they're, they're starring in the academy. They're both versatile forwards, quite skillful.
Was one of them dubbed the next Messi then? Or?
Yeah, so Giovani was he was a year older, and he broke into Barcelona. Well, I say broke in. He sort of started breaking into Barcelona's first team when he was 18, a couple of years after Messi. And he was labelled the next Messi.
So was his brother just like the next Giovanni dos Santos?
Yeah. Well, I think Giovani came through at the same time as Bojan. So maybe Bojan was the next Messi.
Right.
Giovani was the next Bojan. Jonathan was the next Giovani. It's diminishing returns.
Are they Brazilian?
They're Mexican, but although their dad was a Brazilian footballer.
Because you've got the two Brazilian name formats there, Jonathan and Giovani.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You don't want to be Jonathan in that equation.
So yeah, I think their dad was a sort of middling footballer in Mexico, and then like you say, Giovani, he manages a handful of caps for Barcelona, but when he's 19, he gets a big move to Spurs. So you're thinking maybe. It doesn't really work out. He's loaned out to Ipswich, and then I think Galatasaray,
right,
Santander.
That's the route, isn't it?
Yeah. So he eventually ends up in LA Galaxy, and I think he has a bit of a renaissance. But
There's quite a lot of players who aren't quite up to European standard who then go to MLS.
It's probably quite a good life.
And like Bradley Wright Phillips, I don't know if he still is, but for a long time he was top scorer of MLS history.
Yeah.
You talk to an American and they're like,
they're
like, my God, Wright Phillips, and you're like, what, Sean Wright Phillips? They're like, Bradley.
Well, yeah. So I think Giovani was like a big star there. I think I was looking it up. He was on the cover of FIFA, but the American edition.
Right, yeah.
But still, that's something.
Okay. So
But anyway.
hang on. So did he deliver on the wonderkid promise?
No. So I think it was very much. He did not. I don't think he got a goal for Spurs in sort of 17 appearances, and then I think as soon as he loaned out to Ipswich, you're probably not the next Messi.
No offense to Santander.
No. It's similar story for Jonathan. So he actually stays at Barcelona for 5 years. But I think he gets 17 caps in that time. Doesn't really break through. But it's on the international stage that both brothers make their biggest impact. On and off the pitch. So to be fair, again, Giovani, he actually wins the Under-17 World Cup with Mexico, 2005. And then in 2011, both brothers are called up for the Copa America in Argentina. They're very excited, particularly Jonathan, who was maybe a bit too excited because days before the tournament kicks off, he is one of 8 Mexico players embroiled in a major prostitute scandal.
Here we
go, the good stuff. So the squad were staying in Quito in Ecuador for some warm-up games. And everything's going well, everything's all right until a few of the players get back to their rooms one night and they notice they're missing some things. So sort of laptops, iPads, bit of cash. And they're livid. They think it's obviously been stolen and they think it's the hotel's fault. So they're saying either it's just a lack of security or maybe, there's
inside
job. Maybe there's some accusations that hotel staff have been involved in the theft. The Mexican embassy in Ecuador actually files an official complaint to the Ecuadorian government.
What are they going to do? More important shit.
No, this is huge. They're angry. This is days before. That does come back to bite them slightly when the hotel launches their own investigation and quite quickly produces CCTV footage of the Mexico players and apparently a squad official chaperoning lots of prostitutes along the hotel corridor and into the rooms.
So sort of like each one is hand in hand with
pretty much.
It always becomes so much funnier when there's a staff member involved as well.
Yeah,
it's like the one teacher who let you get away with stuff on school trips.
Smoke.
It's like the goalkeeping coaches.
Yeah, so pretty quickly it becomes clear they maybe brought this on themselves. So there's a quote from the Mail at the time. According to hotel manager Robert Romea, condoms and discarded room keys were found in the waste bins in the room shared by Nestor Vidrio and Jonathan dos Santos.
Ringleader.
Well, yeah. So
why are there room keys in the bin?
I guess they've
spare ones.
Oh, that'd be the ones that they nicked from the other players' laptops.
Yeah, I think
maybe into the other rooms.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so you said ringleader, but yeah. So Reformer, which has got quite a big newspaper in Mexico, they actually named Jonathan as the ringleader.
Great.
And he's also accused of sort of trying to organise like a wall of silence around the incident. So he's
we're trying to get everyone.
He's collaring all of his players.
Isn't there CCTV though?
Well, I think. Maybe you can't quite see their face. You can see their Mexican. You can see their training strips, but not the faces. Maybe. Yeah. But in the end, he eventually owns up with the other players involved because the manager threatens to replace the entire squad with the under-20s team for the tournament. If they don't own up. So yeah. So Jonathan does. He belatedly.
You can't cost everyone their place.
No, exactly. Yeah. So he holds his hand up eventually. He's suspended from the national team for 6 months. Mexico have the worst Copa America in their history.
Really? I didn't realise that as a suspended for 6 months crime.
Yeah. I think they were particularly embarrassed.
The lying.
Because it's the lying, it's the...
Official complaint from the embassy.
and they had to go, sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry. That was... So Jonathan is singled out, basically.
Jonathan, I think 8 players get the 6-month ban.
So he basically did scrap the squad.
Yeah, they were replaced by junior players, and hence
by some wonder kids.
Yeah.
Pass the torch.
Yeah, so Giovani, he was in the squad at the time. He wasn't one of the players involved, but he probably should have paid sort of closer attention to the fallout because 7 years later, 2 weeks before the 2018 World Cup in Russia, he was involved in his own prostitute scandal. So they were playing some friendlies, like I say, 2 weeks before the tournament kicked off. And Giovani actually scored the winner against Scotland. Big achievement. Famous goal. And you've got to celebrate in a famous way, which is exactly what Giovani did. So, I've got the headline here from Mexican magazine TV Notice. And they said, 30 VIP escorts gave the Mexico squad their real World Cup send-off with a 24-hour lock-in.
Hang on, those are big numbers. 30?
30.
24 hours?
Was this...
Again, miserable.
Yeah. Was this in Glasgow somewhere?
No, so it was in...
How VIP are they?
Yeah, sadly not. Scotland were away. I assume Las Lomas is in Mexico. I maybe need to...
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, look that
It's
up.
not in Russia.
No. So there's a quote from the article. After the game, the players arrived at the house in Las Lomas around 10:30 p.m. on Saturday and had a great time with music, drinks, games and women. They had the night off without their wives and girlfriends. An unidentified insider asked why their partners had not been at the party, told TV Notice because they wanted to be a bit naughty. And then just in case
I'm sorry, that's more than a bit naughty. A 24-hour orgy with 30 prostitutes.
Yeah, well, just in case that was a bit too subtle from the insider, he then added, why else would they have needed 30 escorts?
Yeah, it's like, we understand now.
Yeah.
Sorry, is that one night off from the Wags and they're like, we better ship them in?
I think, it does sound like
30?
it.
Is that whole squad?
Yeah,
Gotta get one for the goalkeeping
again,
coach.
I think it might be 8 players. I don't think it's the whole squad.
I'm now picturing it 24 hours, basically it was like a party.
Yeah.
Because didn't they say games?
They did say games. I don't know what kind of games.
Music, drinks, games. It sounds quite civilised. It's probably not just charades, is it?
That one where they sort of stick a bit of paper.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to guess Frida Kahlo.
Names in the hat. Yeah. You know, those sorts of things. Pin the tail on the donkey.
Yeah.
Although I did, when I was younger, find in my parents' cupboard a game called Risque Charades, which was quite depressing to find. Next to another game called Booby Snap that was just match 2 pairs of boobs. But Risque Charades, I remember one of the clues was tight condom. So you just have to act that out. Yeah.
Do you know if this was
80s shit?
Was this something that just your mum and dad played just the 2 of them, or
hopefully it was given to them as a funny gift, and it just went in the cupboard. Never played again.
God, these cards are very well worn.
It wasn't in the cellophane, put it that way.
It's like dog-eared, these cards.
Yeah, that is quite the party.
Yeah, incriminating. So the Mexican Football Federation, I think they probably learnt their lesson from the disastrous Copa America a few years before, because they decide not to punish any of the players involved. So Giovani goes to the World Cup with his brother. They're both in the squad, and it's fine. They get through the group stage, but knocked out by Brazil.
There's no shame in that.
Exactly. If you're wondering where they are now, so Giovani retired to become an oil tycoon, which is quite good.
That's great. Where? Mexico.
Or sort of
Texas.
South. Yeah.
That is also the kind of job where it would go down well organising a 30 girl orgy.
That's what they do on Fridays.
Yeah. I say. Like that. And Jonathan is now on OnlyFans.
Ooh, what, he's a porn star?
No, apparently it's for like workout routines and stuff like that.
That's disappointing.
Those people are
Why?
Yeah.
Do people genuinely think that doing that on OnlyFans is like a good business plan?
Well, I think it's like a bit naughty.
Well, is it one of those, because like there's some people who OnlyFans like encourage to put their stuff on to make it seem like they're not just a porn platform. Do you think, like Nick Kyrgios is OnlyFans?
Well,
like,
Nick Kyrgios kind of makes sense, right? But it's like we need a massive soccer star.
Gio dos Santos.
Well, no, Jonathan dos Santos.
Oh yeah, Gio's busy pumping petroleum.
So maybe the same people that decided to put Pierluigi on the front of Paez.
All the Dos Santos brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, it's not an OnlyFans I'd be tuning in for. Also annoying if you are subscribing for workout stuff and your phone just gets the like receipt popping up while your other half's looking at it.
Another $3.99 OnlyFans.
to Gio Dos Santos.
All right, next up, I've got Fabio Paim, who we've talked about before on Extra Shot, actually. So back in 2003, when Cristiano Ronaldo signed for Man United, there was obviously a lot of hype around him. And at his first press conference, he said to the media, "If you think I'm good, just wait until you see Fabio Paim." So they played together in the Sporting Lisbon Academy, and Fabio was so talented that Sporting paid him $4,500 a week, aged 13.
Fucking hell.
Which, like, what are you even spending $4,500 on when you're 13?
That'll fuck you up a bit.
Yeah. But after this ringing endorsement from Cristiano Ronaldo, Chelsea decide to bring him in on loan. It doesn't really work out. He never plays for the first team. But while he's in London, he gets big into the party lifestyle. He's just out all the time. Kind of gets into pretty bad shape. Chelsea send him back to Portugal at the end of his loan. So yeah, he then moves back to Portugal. He's got quite a lot of cash, which he decides to spunk entirely on Ferraris and Lamborghinis. Buys 10 supercars, apparently.
That's too many, I reckon.
Yeah, again, biting off more than you can chew there. 30 escorts and 10 supercars, they're both too many. Cars is the classic way it all goes wrong for footballers, isn't it?
Yeah, like, what
Lose
do you
half their value. As soon as you drive them off the forecourt.
Oh, yeah.
All 10 of them.
Yeah, he never really manages to nail down a spot in a team again after that. Things did go south even from there, and he ended up doing a year in the slammer on cocaine and heroin trafficking charges. He was actually acquitted later.
Right, so he's innocent.
He was acquitted on a technicality.
Was that
because,
actually-
yeah, it was. So he'd been the evidence they had on him was based on a wiretap, and the court then ruled that wiretaps are not legit evidence. So he was acquitted.
In the eyes of the
So
law,
in my eyes, he is innocent. While he was like awaiting trial, he actually did spend a year behind bars, and apparently the prison was right beside Portugal's training ground. So he'd from the window of his cell, he was able to see Cristiano Ronaldo training.
That's cruel. That's actually like a movie. It's hard to believe.
You wouldn't
that.
really believe it in a movie as well. It would be,
you'd be
a
like
shit
that's,
film.
Yeah, you'd be like, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's quite interesting symmetry to there.
Would quite like to watch a film of one of these guys live. Or is it a bit sad?
I mean,
it's like Goal in reverse.
Careful what you wish for.
I tell you what, Jack, you can watch a film of this guy because he's now 36, and thoughts are turning to his next chapter, and he has decided to turn his hand to hardcore pornography. So last year he released some promo clips for a new scene that he'd been working on. It was a threesome.
Is it like a COVID theme? She's got like a sexy face mask.
Yeah.
It's quite sort of Street Fighter 2, maybe.
Okay. Martial arts.
It looks
Yeah.
like he's raided the local fancy dress shop.
Yeah,
It's sort of
really
it's sort of a cross between Mexican wrestler and sexy nurse.
Yeah, but
really
the fancy
looks-
dress is because it's also like a bit creased, so you can tell it's like they've been to Smithy's and got it straight out the cellophane like that day.
And that material, that like
Yeah.
synthetic. And then he's just in a
He's just
dressing
in a
gown.
towel,
He looks
a white
bored.
towel. Oh, maybe.
It's not an erotic scene. It's like a domestic scene. Husband in his dressing
I
gown.
think it looks to me like they're having a conversation with the director at that point.
Right. Get a better promo shot.
Okay. All right. Well, did you not? I swear you've seen the film, haven't you?
Isn't it? It's really expensive, as I recall.
He was flogging it on Telegram for 65 quid, which there is something very budget about that.
Yeah, that's a bit-
You just have to like DM him.
You not do like
Ask for it.
OnlyFans. You not take credit card. You got what? You got to wire him cash.
I don't know. Yeah.
What? How is that the most efficient way to sell porn?
Maybe you're getting all the profit. You don't have to go through a sort of
A network
platform.
fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he doing well? Is it good?
Well, he's been getting some rave reviews from his co-stars.
Right.
So Diana Melancia, she said, "We thought he was going to be nervous and it wouldn't work out, but Fabio turned out to be a lion. He was good at football and he is good at porn." Hopefully those endorsements don't turn out like Ronaldo's.
Yeah.
He's going to end up back in jail, sort of prison next to a porn studio, just watching.
Yeah. So he's the next trying to think. Dirk Diggler.
Bend over.
Bend over. Also, porn stars, they're famously honest about how good the sex is. They definitely don't in any way put it on. So
Exactly.
I believe her. Doesn't her name mean something really funny?
Diana Watermelon Ass.
That's a good name.
Watermelon. Oh,
That's one of the better porn star names.
Yeah, that's creative. I
You
like
know what
it.
you're going to get as well. You know what I mean? All right, next up, I've got someone from quite a different world, I would say. This is the story of Han Kwang-song, who is a North Korean starlet.
Okay.
So I don't know who he was dubbed. I was looking up North Korean football hero, so I think he's the next Pak Do-ik. You guys know Pak Do-ik.
Oh, yeah.
I actually looked up. Pak Do-ik is the guy who knocked Italy out of the World Cup in '66 for North Korea.
okay.
So he's a hero.
I quite like it when wonder kids are from exotic countries.
Yeah.
We're just like unusual, not big footballing nations.
agreed.
Because you'll get like, he's the Estonian Messi.
Yeah, and Han Kwang-song was plucked from the obscurity of a Pyongyang football academy where he'd been, plying his trade. And like most North Korean footballers, he was just destined to play in their league, which is like, it's a good job. As jobs go in North Korea. There's certainly worse. But they went on this tour.
That or sewing hammer and sickles into
Just
their
breaking
grey
rocks.
blazers.
I think the best job in North Korea is tour guide, isn't it? For like...
I think it's Supreme Leader.
Anyway, Han was, he went on this tour. Quite rare that these guys would go on tour of Europe, but they went on a tour of Europe and he ended up getting a spot in a European academy that was sort of affiliated to Barcelona. And then by 2015, major clubs come and take a look at him and they like what they see. Okay. So apparently Man City and Liverpool were interested and Liverpool send a scout and then they actually try and convince him to join. So apparently they send this official to go and meet with him and they offer him to come to Liverpool and meet Steven Gerrard. But Han, there's only one problem. Han has never heard of Steven Gerrard. It's just like, who? Yeah, he's like, is that the guy that Kim Jong Un destroyed in a golf tournament? Anyway, he turns down the Liverpool move and instead chooses to sign for Cagliari.
Right. It's a bit...
To me, seems like a weird move, but maybe in North Korea, Cagliari are like...
Didn't know Steven Gerrard, but big Yerry Mina fan?
Yeah, Cagliari's in Sardinia, so maybe he was like, after 4 years of national service in a snowy border.
Yeah.
Quite nice to get a bit of Sardinian sun.
Go for Sardinia instead of Liverpool.
Yeah, I see it. Anyway, he joins them and becomes the first North Korean to score in Serie A. He actually does pretty well. So well, in fact, that he is snapped up by Juventus.
Wow, okay.
So it's looking like the makings of a real exciting tale of...
I'd like to see the goal version of this, Goal, the film.
Yeah, what way he's
the
like,
remake.
Yeah, I'd like to see the opening scenes.
Plucked
in
from it,
Pyongyang. It'd be a good film. Although at this point his story does take a turn, unfortunately, because Juventus buy him and then 6 days later sell him to a Qatari team.
Right.
Which is
I don't even know that was allowed in like the same
yeah,
window.
it's quite weird. Yeah, so he joins Al Duhail, which is pretty depressing, and it gets worse because his dream of making it with the giants of Qatar is scuppered when the dear leader, Kim Jong Un, fires off a few intercontinental ballistic missiles, kicking off a new round of sanctions, which means that North Korean nationals have to be repatriated. They're basically not welcome even in Qatar. Certainly not in Italy.
Wow.
So that's pretty sad. And then, just as he's about to board this flight back to Pyongyang, COVID breaks out, and he spends the next 3 years holed up in a North Korean embassy.
Wow.
We don't know where. But yeah, for Han, unfortunately, this is the end of his European adventure. So he does 3 years in an embassy, which is quite miserable. And then...
Julian Assange style.
Yeah. And no one really heard from him. And then last year he popped up, scoring in a 6-1 win over Myanmar. So he is now playing for North Korea again. Apparently he's playing in the North Korean league. So,
yeah.
Not
God,
bad.
that would have been a great story.
Yeah.
Aren't there the
As it was.
much,
that was.
which is sort of the essence of this episode, really.
Yeah.
But didn't the Korean women's under-18 team or something won their World Cup last year?
Yeah, quite recently.
Yeah,
they good?
they're amazing.
God,
Apparently,
that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have played it.
I could.
Finally, I've got a sort of a classic of the Wonder Kid gone wild genre. I think he'll get a full episode at some point. Royston Drenthe. We all remember the name. He is Edgar Davids' nephew.
Okay.
So I guess he was billed as the next Edgar Davids. Genie Wijnaldum's cousin. So quite,
Sort of like the kid, he's Maradona's grandson, Aguero's son, and Messi is his godson.
Yeah, no
Sort of
pressure.
like that, sort of the Dutch version of that.
I really hope that kid just turns out like a Brooklyn Beckham, just like
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
his
yeah.
own hot sauce and stuff. Royston Drenthe, he had a career that took him from Real Madrid all the way to the Spanish 5th Division via Everton, Reading, and a brief venture into rap music. So yeah, quite a career. He was very exciting. So at the under-21 Euros in 2007, which the Netherlands won, he was player of the tournament. And, there was a lot of talk about where he would go. He eventually went to Real Madrid. And apparently when he was interviewed, everyone was like, oh, is it because, one of the great clubs, all the famous games they played? And he was like, no, I just love the film Goal. Just wanted to live Santi Munoz's life. Doesn't really go to plan, though, because in his first week, he is joyriding around Madrid at 4 a.m. when he crashes into the back of a car. And unfortunately for him, it turns out to be a police car.
Okay.
Ooh.
Not unmarked, just a police car. After that, he's then caught on the shagging spree. So he was married, but he begins an affair with this Playboy model who's 20 years older than him. So this is a noncy one, not an arsey one. And then he's on a chat show on Spanish TV, and they're like asking him, sort of late night show, sort of Howard Stern-y. They're like, how often do you have sex? And he goes, do you mean with my wife? Or it's a bit like
That's a great
reminds me of the
response.
Nicholas Bender thing of how he calls women who aren't prostitutes civilians.
Yeah.
It's that he's just so used to cheating. He's like lost all concept of what's appropriate. Well, if we're counting other women. Anyway, he plays 46 games for Real Madrid, but he falls out with Mourinho and then is sent on loan to various clubs, including Everton, which is probably why we know him. Washed up at Everton.
How could we forget?
How can we forget that famous stint? I think he does 17 games. He pretty instantly falls out with David Moyes when, after a night out at a strip club, he loads up his Rolls Royce.
Well, not with David
With
Moyes.
David Moyes. Disagreement over the bill. And Royston heads out to a strip club one night, and after a fun evening at 2 a.m, he loads up his Rolls Royce with a harem of strippers, and they head where else? Everton's training ground, Finch Farm, obvious place to go, where he basically frolics with them in the hot tub until basically all night. And he would have got away with it.
Did he set off the alarms or?
Well, I think basically the groundsman came in the next day and found like some knickers in the hot tub. And they checked the CCTV where they...
Tony Hibbert got into the hot tub next day when I dunked under and there was just a pair, just a thong. Just...
Apparently they checked the CCTV and it's just Royston, leading a conga line of strippers into the hot tub. Do you think his logic was the hot tub is why I want to be... Because I
it's a weird
don't
place
really
to
see the
go.
appeal of coming into work.
Yeah.
Let that be a lesson to both of you. I think he was in the studio.
I mean, I can see that if you're a footballer, it's like look where I can take you. Didn't Dennis Rodman take Carmen Electra to the Chicago Bulls training center on a day off?
Yeah, but like I think it was the court, so at least it was like a bit iconic.
Yeah.
Because who's the guy who got caught? Was it Schweinsteiger? Bastian Schweinsteiger got caught bringing a girl into the hot tub of the training ground, and then when they caught him red-handed, and he was like, "No, don't worry, she's my sister, no cousin,
I think it was sister. Yeah.
stepsister or something
Yeah.
like grey area."
Yeah.
Sort of.
Why is she naked?
Yeah. Anyway, I think the Everton groundsman, when you're fishing Diamante bikinis out of the swimming pool, the game's up. And it didn't stop there because Moyes' anger only grew when he called a team meeting ahead of an FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool. One of the biggest games an Everton player can play in. And they're all there at the team.
This wasn't the one where Andy van der Meijden put in a famous cry.
It might have been. I think it was.
It's about the same time.
2 wonder kids at once.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he calls this team meeting. Everyone's there on time, taking it really seriously, apart from Royston Drenthe, who bowls in very, very late. And when David Moyes is like, "Where the fuck have you been?" he replies that, "Sorry, I fell asleep playing FIFA and forgot to set an alarm." At which point David Moyes replies, "Oh, just fuck off," and just sends him out the team meeting. And that's the end of the Everton years. After that, he's a bit of a journeyman via various clubs, then quits football and has a brief rap career.
Okay.
Where he records a song with Ryan Babel called Roya. He's called Roya Two Faces. That's his nickname.
Any good?
No, not great. More like it always seems to be Dutch players who record songs because Quincy Promise and
did
Memphis
one.
Depay did
Yeah.
one as well. And I've heard Ryan Babel do some others. I had a listen, not amazing. He's now a nurse.
Oh, yeah?
Next Florence Nightingale.
Yeah, it's quite an unexpected.
Yeah.
Thing. That's quite nice.
Yeah, that's a
actually.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
How did he get into that? Just
COVID, I think. Yeah, I'm not really sure. He went bankrupt, obviously.
Okay.
It'll do that, and so he had to get a proper job. And
Yeah.
nurse.
Fair enough.
Something quite nice about a job where he's like actually.
Did he get into it because he went to the strip club and he liked the sexy
Something
nurse
outfit.
outfit?
It's like, Royston, it's
He's
going to be quite different.
Gonna have to do blood transfusions. And actually, before we go, I wanted to give a nod to the next generation of Wonder Kids. One that I picked out for you, Kendry Paez. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
He's at Chelsea. I think he's about 16, 17. Got called up for the Ecuador squad a little while ago, and they were playing some games in the US. And he got snuck into a strip club by his teammates.
Because he's
And
underage.
He's underage, and they managed to sneak him into a strip club in the middle of the day.
Wasn't it in New York as well? So you have to be 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got in trouble.
Yeah, I think the other players got in trouble because he's not. It wasn't his fault. 'Cause he's
It's
underage. He got off.
another Nazi one.
Yeah, he's the next Giovani dos Santos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good luck to him.
watch
Remember the
watch
name.
this space. Yeah.
Kendry Paez. Yeah, it's a great name. All right, George, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having
Zach,
me.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners. And if you enjoyed that, you can get the extended cut of this episode when you join Tuchel's Dungeon, our Patreon, where we've done a slightly longer version of this. So there'll be one or two Wonder Kids who were deemed too naughty for the mainstream audience, along with a few gags that were deemed too tasteless. Probably quite a lot of those, actually. So you'll get the extended cut of this episode. And on the Patreon, you also get a whole weekly bonus episode. I think this week we'll have a few sort of racy stories from the world of sport that we can't share with the mainstream audience, with the kuffar. But we also will probably dive into the careers of some other Wonder Kids that weren't, who are a bit more unusual.
Yeah, we wanted to look into some people who you might have heard of, the likes of Julio Iglesias, Gordon Ramsay, Pope John Paul II, who all had football careers at one point that never quite worked out, and they turned their hand to other avenues.
They went the Fabio Paim route. They were like, all right, football's not working out, I'm going to become the pontiff.
Or a hardcore porn star.
Yeah. Or a sweary chef.
Yeah. Or the biggest selling Spanish artist of all time, Julio Iglesias.
Yeah.
He used to be a goalkeeper for Real Madrid.
And Big Shagger, I believe. But I don't want to reveal any more details than that. Although, funny detail, his son, Enrique Iglesias, name sounds quite exotic. In English, that's just Henry Church. Love that. So you can get the extended cut of this, all our most tasteless gags, and a bonus episode every week when you slip on the shackles, turn the rusty key in the lock, and come in for a good thrashing in Tuchel's Dungeon, all for less than the price of a coffee. I think Thomas Tuchel spends a lot more than that on the habit, so you're getting a good deal. Come and be a pay pig. Link in bio to do that, and you can unlock all the bonus stuff there and then. We will see you next time. Thanks a lot for listening to our rundown of the Wonder Kids that weren't.